Welcome to Deep Work Out Loud, the thinking that fuels our life, our work, and our leadership. I'm Julie Harris Oliver. This is the podcast where I sit with another professional coach and we do some work around a single concept or a piece of inspiration or a topic we've seen come up in coaching or something we really care about. And if we're really lucky while we're talking about it, there might be an opportunity to demonstrate what coaching might look and feel like, but we'll see how it goes. It's an experiment. With any luck, you will leave with something you can apply and use in your work and your life or both. Today, I'm here with Dr. Lauren Collier. Lauren is a practical academic, professional coach, and the founder of the Friendship Project. Lauren blends the science of connection with her real-world experience as an educator and community builder to help women strengthen the relationships that fuel their clarity, confidence, and growth. Her work centers around one core belief: who you surround yourself with shapes who you are, and how you shape the life you are creating. Hi, Lauren. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So before we dig in, please tell us your journey to becoming a coach.
Sure. Well, my professional roots are in social work. I trained thinking that I was going to be a counselor on a college campus. Opportunities in life and career sort of shifted, and I was more of a community organizer. I worked on college campuses, but more around building community partnerships. And over time, my roles got more leadership, more administrative, frankly, farther away from my social work heart. And so in 2020, like so many of us, decided to be intentional about going back to kind of realigning for myself and did my coaching training. And it, just really kind of brought me back to what I love, which is the interpersonal and the connection and the life change. And that is what coaching is to me.
Beautiful.
Mhm.
All right. Now, I think I know what you're going to want to talk about today, but why don't you tell us what our deep dive is going to be?
Well, I'd like to talk about friendship and more specifically about finding your people as an adult through the changes and transitions and moves that our modern worlds, require of us and what it takes to sustain them. So specifically for adult women who are busy and, all of those things. So let me toss a question your way. And
Okay.
what is your experience making new friends as a grown-up been like?
Like, this is so topical for me right this minute because I just moved from my city, from my industry, from my network, from my safe little blue state bubble to Tennessee, where I know my husband and my stepchild, and maybe one friend. And so I've had to be really intentional about where am I going to find my people. They were not at Pilates, and so I, because I'm deep in a suburb. And so I thought, okay, let me join some things locally. I'll join the Y, I'll go to Pilates, and none of that worked. And so then I've had to go deeper into Nashville and try to figure out where do I need to insert myself and where do I need to go to try to find my people. And as a extroverted introvert, it's been hard.
Same.
I've had to be so push myself to go to the thing where I'm not going to know anybody, and I've been doing that for a year, and it has paid off in that I've met a bunch of people, and I have some people on text, and I have some people that I see on occasion, but I can't say that I found my group of ladies.
And it's hard to even know where to start because you just hit all of the buttons
Oh, good.
for me. So the first is, when I started digging into this, like what is the problem here? Like we know there's this social isolation, this loneliness epidemic. And like according to the Surgeon General, 46% of us, of adults, say we have no true friends. Now we have acquaintances, we have contacts, we may have, social media folks, but we don't necessarily have someone to call when, right?
46%.
46%. It's a global stat and it holds true in the US. So we are all sort of alone in our loneliness. So that's the first. So then I'm like, okay, so what is the problem we're really trying to solve here? And you just hit a couple of them. So I think there are three things that we need. The first one I call alignment. And
Mhm.
that's pretty basic. location, and openness to friendship. So that's why, like, when you go off to college and you're all in the same residence hall, everybody's looking for new friends, you're all in one place, right? So that's the first. The second one I call affinity. And this is the, do we get along? Do we have chemistry? Do we have shared interests and values? It's the thing that usually takes a little like time to unearth. It's not necessarily just on the surface, like we're in the same industry, right?
Yeah.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
that made me think of so many things because
Oh,
I've
good.
I've noticed culturally moving to the South, there is a dance you have to do to figure out if you have affinity with people. And these days, let's be real, it's mostly political
Yeah.
and religious.
Yes.
And so I've found it's for me, it's a little weird here where
Right.
you have to really feel people out and it takes a long time and it's so polite. Like it's a little unnerving for me.
You're like, "Can I just stamp on my forehead?" What "These are the 3 things I'm looking for, please."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're exactly right, and the last, is that there is no shortcut to time and shared experience. So, coming back to where you started, you talked about some of the places you go to look for community. You said Pilates, you said some of these, like, professional associations, and some of those are hit and some of those are miss. I
Mhm.
guess I would ask you, what do you think is missing, or what would you like to find that would make that easier?
Oh, gosh, that is a good question. Because I will tell you, I have met my people going to pottery. I found this great group of women who, it took months of us all sitting at the wheel and we're gossiping while we're doing it. And then I realized, oh, half of these women recently moved here. Oh, all of these women
Mm,
are now empty nesters. All of them are looking for friendship. And it took one brave person to say, "Would y'all like to go out to dinner after so then we organized a dinner and then at dinner everyone confessed they were looking for friends. It still hasn't gone much outside of that,
right.
but that has been a good connection.
What I love about that, it's one of the first words you used, which is intention.
Mhm.
You talked about your own intention, putting yourself out there, weathering the awkward coffees, going to whatever kind of like hobby or association or meetup or whatever that made sense for you, and then being willing to take that next step or responding when somebody else did. And that intention, I think, is crucial, right?
Yeah, and it's funny because there are some cities where notoriously people's groups of friends are people they went to high school with. Minneapolis is a place like that. Seattle is a place like that.
Okay.
And Nashville is a city of transplants for a
Becoming
big
that way
part.
for sure.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that requires a different sort of effort. Because sometimes, say in Minneapolis or Seattle, it might take you years to get into a group because people have groups and they don't need new people.
Right.
So what do you do?
Well, I mean, one of the other things that I think it's maybe more specific to Nashville, but it's not, truly an outlier, is that Nashville is growing. So, yes, there's a lot of transplants, but a lot of the infrastructure, the networking that's specifically for, especially, this is what I'm hearing, professional women at different stages, hasn't caught up in Nashville. So if
Mm,
you're in Chicago or San Francisco or New York, there is an anticipation and expectation that there's a lot of, especially again, women is where my heart is and where my focus is, that there are spaces for that explicitly, and
yeah.
I have not found those. Honestly, I looked when I moved to Nashville 10 years ago, and I've looked again recently because 'cause I've gone through my own transition. I'm still here, but all of my friends have left.
Rude.
Yes. I mean, and it's a back to the drawing board, and it's sad, and honestly, I've grieved because I did invest. I nurtured that group for 10 years. And I'm back to the drawing board anyway.
Oh, man.
Yeah,
Okay, so what's your plan, Lauren?
sure. So my plan is to I've been creating a path as a friendship facilitator to curate circles of women, and I'm doing that intentionally when we talked about these 3 things: local, open to friendship. We can call in those women who are seeking. And hey, if we're all here for the same reason, there's no shame in that, right? Some of that I think is always this embarrassment of like, oh, I'm socially awkward or no, there's nothing wrong here.
Yeah.
It's just that you're at a place your needs aren't being met and you need new friends. So we're going to curate circles of women around local and one true thing. To me, that is something a little deeper than just a hobby group. The ceramics is a great example, but it also takes a while. And you could have been in a group with people that were not at all aligned for your sort of place in life.
Yeah.
So, and then we're going to take an intentional shared learning path together. And this is where the coaching and the instructor and me come together, but also, I'm the one who's always put together the book club. I have, no kidding, been the bridesmaid 17 times, counting only the ones you have address. Like, I want to create those spaces where we're getting into deeper meaning together, because I think that's where we learn, hey, yeah, we are aligned. And even if we're not, we now know what we're looking for, right? Sometimes we're looking for where we're going, not necessarily where we've been.
Would you go back to the one true thing?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
So I think that our current world is set up, and your example is perfect for this, for sort of shared spaces, places where we look to connect, but they're not really designed for friendship, right? They're professional networks, and many of them are explicit, like, no, we're about business here.
Mhm.
You want to socialize, that's on your own time. Same for hobby groups, whether it's ceramics or run clubs. That's where people are, but you may not necessarily get to that next level that says, oh, wait, we've got more than just ceramics in common. It takes somebody being intentional to do that. So when I say one true thing, I'm often looking to for the thing that when you talk to someone, they will reveal, but it's never going to be on their social media post. Examples. I've just gone through a divorce and I'm figuring out how to be a single parent.
Mm.
Like, all of the friends that I've had that are also parents, they're still my friends, but we have a different set of like needs and expectations and constraints right now. Like, it's not that I'm firing these folks, but it's I may need some different folks around me right now, right? So,
Well, I found a lot of folks fired me when I got divorced and had children.
the same, right? Whether it's because of you or because of them, I've heard that repeatedly. All of a sudden,
Yeah.
wait, I'm not invited anymore. What
Why
did
aren't I invited?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. So I think there are a lot of those. And again, where this connects with coaching to me is those are often at women's life transitions, right?
Mhm.
It's you move, you start a new job. Sometimes it's a leadership role. And all of a sudden, you can't necessarily be as open with your friends that you met at work in
It's
the same
lonely
way.
at the top.
It's absolutely true. You know, you get married, you don't get married. All of a sudden, you and your crew are out of sync. You have a baby, you don't have a baby. Maybe you go through something really significant, pain, loss, illness. All of a sudden, there's a disconnect there. So that's where a lot of time, when I say one true thing, it's often, at least in my experience observation, when it's a pretty significant transition, and you just realize, like, hey, I may need some other folks around me right now.
Mhm. Do you think this changed around the pandemic?
100%. I think a number of things happened for us. One, we lost a lot of skills, right? Like,
Yeah,
a lot of us just retreated, and I gotta tell you, I was happy about it for a long time. I
for
know I almost
sure.
feel guilty for that, but I love not having FOMO, but also being able to sit at home. So there
Yeah.
was a relief there. So I think there was some, like, honestly, relational skill loss.
Mhm.
I think the other side of that is that when you mentioned this disconnect around things like political divides, a lot of those were really brought to the surface, and there were a lot of ruptures that haven't healed. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of us, I think you're absolutely right. There's also some practical things, like many of us started working from home and never went back. Right? So you think structurally about the way we live our lives. I saw a crazy stat. I'm going to get this wrong, but it was something like 70% of people that, like, order in restaurants, eat alone, most of them at home. So they order from a restaurant, but they get it
Oh.
delivered, Uber Eats, whatever, Grubhub. So most folks, they were not even eating together, right?
It's so funny to think about how much has changed in 5 years.
Yeah,
I did another episode with Laura London, and we were talking about, forest bathing, which is, coming from Japan to try to
yes,
solve this. I sit in front of a desk all day long. But it's funny that things that used to be so natural in kindergarten, you went up to someone and said, "Hey, you wanna be my friend?"
right,
That now we have to relearn how to do that and be so intentional and thoughtful and put in so much effort. It's
yeah.
crazy.
And then you put that in this broader context of busyness, right?
Right.
Um,
Who has
you're
time?
working, whether you have family or caregiving obligations, just maneuvering through life takes a lot of time. I kind of dug in and I found a stat that said women spend 3 to 5 hours each week planning to get 3 to 5 hours of actual social time. And that's assuming you
I
do
believe
it,
it.
right? Because half the time, if you're me, I'm like, "I'd really love to see people, but do I really want to start the calling, the texting, the calendaring, the doodle polls, the reservation making, the, like, logistical planning? Oh, and it's traffic," and we kind of were just like, "Yeah,
Well, and also it's not gonna happen till 3 weeks from now, and that
right."
day, who knows if I'll still feel like going out to meet you.
100% true. But that's such a delayed gratification anyway that, yeah, you're like, so I'll just sit here and scroll."
Right?
Yeah,
Because really what you mean is, "Could you meet me for coffee in an hour?"
right. For me, almost 100% of the time, it's like, "Will you go on a walk with me?
Yeah.
Can we
Yeah.
come sit on my porch?" Right? Like, I just like, let's pour some coffee or a glass of wine, and let's just, like,
Hang
solve
out.
all the world's problems.
Yeah. So, what is this gonna look like, your friendship circles?
Sure. So, first step is sort of through 2 paths. One, if you're interested, I have a very, very short, I think it's 7 questions, 2-minute survey. Where are you? What are you looking for? Roughly, you know, what that one true thing is. So the second path is that I'm working with businesses and organizations that have some community mission. They're professional organizations, they're yoga studios, they're even communities like apartment complexes,
Hmm.
places where women go naturally to connect, but that often don't really help structure to meet that need. Um, so again, facilitating friendship, moving beyond the surface, and kind of creating some norms and expectations, but also rebuilding some of those social muscles that help us be intentional. Um, it is the reality is it's awkward. You're just going to have to lean into the awkward a little bit, and hopefully, as a friendship facilitator, I can take on some of that awkward for folks.
So, does that look like a dinner? Does it look like a group walk? What does it look Does it look like a meetup? What does it look like?
So what I've actually put together is an 8-week learning journey. So in person, um, meeting weekly. Now we may, and I expect this to be the case. We may need to meet hybrid, especially as we get started. We'll have at least 2 in person, and we'll have some version of shared experience that makes sense for that group. But the I think the whole there is no substitute for time is if you really are looking for friends, you're not gonna get it in one meetup.
Mhm.
And to have the same people coming back, and often that to me is a gap with existing options. You may go to a meetup, but there's no guarantee if you go to another one that the same people are there.
Right.
So that's the point of circling up and kind of leaning in for a period of time to really explore what each of us needs, but also how that plays out. Because I think you would be with me. You can't learn how to do relationships in a vacuum. And often we know how, we just need a little prompting, a little, reason, a little motivation.
Yeah, it's not enough to say, "Well, I've read all about it."
Right. You're exactly right. And I have read all about it, and I'm still sitting here looking to meet other new friends. So
Hi, this is Julie. I'm going to interrupt for a quick sec to tell you about something that I'm working on. Are you a leader who's either new to managing people or starting to realize that you've been so busy putting out fires that you haven't been able to invest the time to actually develop your people? Are you hearing this and thinking, who has time for that? Or, sure, I would love to do that, but sometimes it's just faster to do it myself. Maybe you've been so focused on execution that your team hasn't really gotten much better. And now you're stuck reviewing every deck, fixing every analysis, and wondering, why can't anybody just handle it? If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. This is way more common than you think. Many of my clients come to me for this exact reason. Well, here's the good news. You can develop people who genuinely step up. You can lead strategically instead of reactively. And yes, you can actually take time off. Here's how I can help. I'm opening a group coaching cohort in April for leaders who want to get better at the people development side of their job. We'll focus on building trust, delegating effectively, giving real feedback, developing your team's capabilities, and creating the conditions where both you and your team can thrive. Real conversations, practical tools, genuine support in a small, confidential group. Let's talk about it. You can book an exploratory call with no obligation at julieharrisoliver.com. So I assume you're doing this in Nashville
Yes.
to start.
Yes. Yeah, the goal certainly, I think the need is there. The goal is to figure out how to do this in Nashville in a way that is meaningful. And if and when I can do that, then let's take the show on the road.
Okay, let me ask you the coaching questions.
Okay.
What's going to make this hard?
All of it. I'm learning so much about myself. It's the businessy sides that are hard. I love being in a room with other women. I love connecting other people. So it's not just always that I have to be in the middle of it. That's the place where I find joy. So that part is the easy part. The harder parts are all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
The administrative tasks, yeah,
The
strategy and
organizing.
partnership building and organizing and structuring and all of that stuff.
And then what about for the women?
What makes it hard?
Yeah.
I think the first thing, and all of us have to, one, overcome the scroll and the pull up the couch. Because even if we know we want friends, when it's the Tuesday night and you have to get yourself up and actually go walk through the door, like, it's an act of will for all of us.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. I mean, you're going to have to put yourself out there a bit. All I can say is I don't know that it's gonna get easier, right? So you either have to put yourself out there by yourself or you're willing to go on a journey where others are saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna do the same."
It feels like I'm just picturing this for myself right now. And it feels like it feels a little risky,
Yeah,
right?
it is. I mean, I think the reality is that relationships are risky. They're, you know, especially sustained relationships, right? And that's part of the relational health or skill is we know if we are going to be in relationship, we are going to weather change and conflict. So
Mhm.
that's even after you get over that initial hurdle of just the awkwardness of small talk and getting to know you and do we actually have anything in common? But I think it's very real. I think the value of then doing this together is that you have ideally, and kind of the way I've structured this is that we are building some shared expectations, some shared language to negotiate these things together, which I think has gotten lost. Like, we have that expectation in our partnerships, like romantic partnerships, often at work, because we simply have to. But I think a lot of that has been lost in our friendships because we literally or figuratively move on.
Yeah. Well, and I think we can probably all agree, it's almost like when you're first dating someone, like, I always thought, "I wanna get to the middle of the relationship." Could we get to the middle? Like, where we
Yes.
just totally know each other and rely on each other and know,
Yes.
what we're dealing with? I think it's the same thing with friendship. Like, I want the friends who are gonna come over and be as comfortable in my kitchen, and I'm gonna be as comfortable in their kitchen, physical or metaphysical,
Right.
No, metaphorical, not their
Yes,
metaphysical
yes.
kitchen, their
I
metaphorical
was
kitchen.
tracking. Yes.
But you know what I mean? Like that.
Yes.
So you can call a friend last minute and be like, will you come help me with this thing? Or,
Yes,
can I meet you for a thing? But that's so in the middle of the friendship.
it is.
And so it's getting through that first part. And I think what you're offering is to get through that part with intention and what is the other word I'm looking for?
I think intention is the right word. I would also hope openness, like, "Hey, yeah, I know I need this, and I'm willing to learn about myself. I'm willing to learn about you, and let's figure out what we can create together." There is a you even intention, meaning, like, I will show up, I'm gonna put the time in, doesn't really count for much if you are going to remain distant, emotionally closed, etcetera.
So there's also a piece of accountability with it. Is being expected to show up, but also show up in a certain way, not with your
Yes.
arms crossed.
Which, my hope, this is not mandatory, right? Like, this is not a
Right.
required professional training at work. If you are opting into this, then I think you're saying, "Hey, yeah, I really am looking to build new friendships or to strengthen my skills, my intentionality with the relationships I have," which is also important. I talked to one woman the other day who's like, it might be the rarity, but I have too many friends." My question to her was, are you aligning your energy with the people who also feed your soul?
And also, you don't have to brag about it.
Well, fair, fair. But she immediately was like, "Yeah, you're right. I do spend more time with," it's kind of the squeaky wheel. The emotional vampires seem to get more of me, and then I have nothing left when I want to actually hang out with the people who are the ones who are good with me, good for me.
And I think it's true for women especially that we do tend to hang on to those relationships that don't feed us for whatever reason or obligation or longevity.
Sure.
And so it's interesting to I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with girlfriends about how do I put a boundary around this relationship that's not good for me, but I don't know how to. This person's been in my life since we were 5. How do you stop
Right.
being friends with them after 50 years?
My belief, and this has a lot to do with coaching, and is that sometimes it's a boundary, sometimes it's a negotiation we've never actually had, right?
Ooh,
Have
say
you
more.
I think often we assume, especially with our friends, that they know what we need, and we assume what they're thinking, but we don't necessarily negotiate the relationship itself in the same way. So what happens is, I just had a baby. You don't have children. I assume that you should be, one, aware that how my life has changed. You should be coming to me. I don't
Showing
have
up
the
for
same
me.
flexibility. And when you don't do that, I get my feelings hurt. And then on the other side, it is, why does our whole friendship have to revolve around your kid now? Right. But there has never been this open, or this, even this ability to say, like, okay, hey, we're in different places right now. That's okay. Here's what I have to give. Cool. Here's what I need. Is there a way we can find a middle ground? Often we just sort of like let time and space do its work.
Mhm.
Or I need to set a boundary. You know, maybe it is, but maybe it's a conversation that needs to be had so that you keep the door open for the next season where you are more aligned.
That's so mature and healthy.
Wouldn't you love all of your friends, or all the pool of the people around you, to all be thinking that way?
Yes. What a relief that would be
Right?
if everyone did their work.
100%,
What a
right?
place. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and I think that's where there's a really nice, intersection with coaching, right? Because I think, there will be women, maybe many women, who recognize patterns of behavior that they need to attend to, whether that's coaching or therapy, that are not simply just about, like, showing up and going through the awkward and being willing to be open, but, hey, maybe there's some deeper work that does need to happen here so that I can show up with that level of emotional maturity and find my people then.
Mhm. And what's my part in what's been happening around me?
100%.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for you to launch this. Where can people find you?
My personal email is laurenkcollier.com. And there's the Friendship Project is front and center.
And do you have a website for it?
Yes, it's laurenkcollier.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lauren. This was great.
This has been such a fun conversation. We could almost be friends. Give it a little time.
Okay, let's meet for coffee next week.
Okay, yes.
This has been Deep Work Out Loud. I'm Julie Harris Oliver. Thank you to Lauren Collier. If any of this resonates with you, please subscribe and leave a review at all the podcast places. If you'd like to work with me, you can find me at julieharrisoliver.com. And let me leave you with this. What kind of connection are you wanting in your life? And what might be a step that you can take this week towards it? Try some things. Report back. Thanks for listening. See you next time.